This program was first broadcast on Canterbury's access media station, Plains FM, and was made with the assistance of New Zealand On Air.
This is the second part of the interview with Murray Francis. For the first part, please listen to the June show.
Now moving, I suppose, into the machinery side of things a bit more. Road metals and wheel loaders, they go together. And you're well known for your loyalty to certain brands in your fleet.
Yep.
Tell us about the long-term partnership with Caterpillar and Goff and Hamer as it was back then.
I've always enjoyed Goffs. And we've had a lot of Cat machines. I think actually fronting load is interesting. You say we've got an affinity with fronting loaders. Yes, we have. I think we've got over 70 fronting loaders, so it's quite a few. And Cat is one of our brands that we run dual brands. I won't mention the other people, but I run two brands, and I had a person a while ago from a different company altogether phone me up and says, "Can I come and see you?" I said, "Yep, of course you can." But I said, "Don't bring any pamphlets." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, if you're coming to sell me a machine, you won't. I have enough trouble between the two brands now, so I don't need to introduce a third one." But I said, "You're welcome to come and say hello." I said, "But I don't want to be arrogant, but I'm only going to stay with the two machines." And it's interesting, I run the two brands with the loaders. I run two brands with diggers. I run two brands with the utes. And I can mention those brands with the utes. It's Ford and Toyota. With the trucks, we run Mack and we run Volvo. I always said I wouldn't have a Japanese one, but actually in saying that, we've now got a company called Kiwi Concrete, and I started running Hinos, and actually they've been quite bulletproof. So, yeah, I always said, they said, "Oh, Murray, you said you'd never have a Japanese truck." I said, "Yeah, concrete's different." But actually, they've been so reliable that actually we've got a couple of brown and white Hinos now, and I can't fault them. Can't fault them.
And in terms of the on the Cat machine side of things...
Back the Cat. I've enjoyed Cat, and I continue to enjoy Cat. I think the first Cat loader we had was a 980B. Well, actually, we inherited a couple of 944s, or 944 and 922, so we're going back a while. But the first brand new Cat that we owned was a Cat 980B, which went to Twizel. And that was an amazing machine, absolutely amazing. But here's a story that you'll like. Prior to it arriving, we had a Cat 988 that we'd bought off Burnett's. And it was working up at Pukaki. It was on Ministry Hire, but it was working 24 hours. But it was a great old loader. Anyway, my father bought a Michigan, a 175, so it was quite a big loader, probably a 30-tonner. Anyway, the Cat 988A that we had, my father was quite pleased, and again, it was Jack Parker, who I mentioned before. He was driving the 988. So anyway, the Michigan arrived on a transporter, and Jack was pretty excited. Brand new loader, first brand new machine he'd ever had. So he hopped in. He was loading Ministry Works dump trucks. So I think he hopped into the loader at about 6:30 at night, and by 9 o'clock he'd parked it up and was back in the 988. And my father was a bit shocked. Actually, we're all pretty shocked about it. We said, "Jack, how come? You got a brand new loader?" He says, "It's not the same as the Cat." He said, "The Cat 988, he said, we call it the Grunter." He says, "It just goes in, gets a full bucket every time." He said, "I couldn't even get a full bucket with the Michigan." So, again, the Michigan, well, it stayed within the company, but it went to a different job. Yeah, so the 988, actually that same 988 has done 110,000 logged hours. I'd say probably the most logged hours, and I'd say probably the highest in New Zealand. I could be wrong. But 110,000 logged hours, but it was on night shift most of its, double shift most of its life. It started off its life at Manapori under Burnett's. It went down. I think it went to Ben Moore first, maybe just did a small stint. Then it went to Manapori's on double shift at Manapori. Then it came back, was on double shift with Ministry Works at Twizel, and actually that's when we bought it. So we just took the 988 over, and then it was such a success, that's when the 980 was ordered, 980B. Bloody good loader too.
And so whereabouts is the 988 today? Do you know where?
I know exactly where it is.
Are you still have it?
Yes, it's down at Wanaka. It was in the Wanaka Museum. Actually, it was quite funny. I was a bit horrified. I remember advertising it for sale, and Gerald Rhodes, who had the Wanaka Museum, he phoned me up and said, "Could I put it in the museum?" I said, "Well, I'd rather sell it." But then I thought about it. I thought, actually, it's not a bad idea. So we put it in the Wanaka Museum, and then when they had that Wheels at Wanaka, we transported it from the museum at Wanaka to the field at Dippy's. And as someone said, it looks pretty shocking. Why don't you give it a paint? I thought, yeah, maybe we should. So we took it back to Oamaru after that show, sandblasted, painted it, and it's back at Wanaka. And it's sitting on Alan Dippy's land now, actually. But yeah, so we've still got it. And then Twizel, they've got a display at Twizel, and they've asked me if they can have the 988 there at Twizel, in a static display. But we've actually got another 988, so presently, as we talk, it's down in Oamaru getting sandblasted. Our second 988 is getting sandblasted and painted, and it'll go to Twizel.
Oh, fantastic.
That's brilliant. So you sort of touched on a couple of machines and that sort of thing. Have you got a favourite model and why? Obviously, the 988.
Well, the 988 was pretty special. As saying 110 proven hours, which is incredible. That 980B I told you about, it was an amazing loader. I've sort of lost touch with that is. Actually, I wouldn't mind getting it back for a museum. I've got to try and find that. I think it's still around somewhere. 1974 we bought that 980B. It was a bloody good loader, that one. One of the favourite loaders would probably be the 966D. The D was a great loader. We had two of them on the Clyde Dam project, 25,000 hours. We think we did in them, and we never touched them. So, and actually, I'll tell you where they ended up. Actually, they were absolutely immaculate. 25,000 hours. They were immaculate. They looked like brand new at the end of the job. Because mind you, it's at Clyde Dam, Central Otago. There's no rust or anything else, and the weather's pretty good. But when we sold them, they were like brand spanking new. We had to take all the windows out. They went to Vanuatu, both of them. I'd hate to think what they look like now.
I was going to say, that's chalk and cheese in terms of the environments, isn't it?
Yeah, they went to Vanuatu. Good to grief. But yeah, I suppose, getting back to a favourite machine, I think the 966D would be one of my favourites. Another reason for them being my favourite is there's no computer gear in them. So again, look, you could they never really let you down. And if they did let you down, they're easy to fix. Now with all the computerised stuff, it's quite difficult. And again, look, if they get into water, and we used to do a lot of work on the West Coast. The water, actually Manapuri is another good one. We've had problem with computers getting wet. So the 66D favourite machine, 980 favourite, 988A another favourite.
Nice.
Oh, well, actually, in the museum we got a 944, and I had to shift it the other day. It's been sitting there for 3 years. Put the jumper leads onto it. I said to them, "You watch this. I'll just give it a bit of heat." Gave it 15 seconds heat, flicked the star, and away it went. Yeah, I just shifted.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
So talking machinery, Murray, you've just returned from a tour to the States with Terra for the 2023 Con Expo show. Do you find those beneficial, seeing all the latest and greatest on the machinery side of things, and obviously working with the people that take you on the tour as well? How do you find that? Tell us about that.
Oh, I find them very beneficial, but actually it's not about the show, to be fair. It's actually about the people you meet. Actually, the first question I ask when I'm get invited is who else is going, because I want to have a fun team. Anyway, it's interesting. It's also good to see, are we up with the play with our products? And I suppose the very first show I went to, I'm trying to think, probably back in, I think probably mid-90s it might have been. We went to Belma with Caterpillar. And what happened, I saw a 966G. And I go, wow. And at the time, we only had the Ds. So, again, very, very happy with the 966D. But when I saw the G, I thought this is a pretty impressive looking machine. So I turned around to Goff and Hamer and I said, I want the very first 66G into the country. And at the time, because they were still selling 66 Fs.
Yeah,
they were. Anyway, I said, I want the very first G. So they agreed to that, but I didn't realise I had to wait 2 years. It was only sort of a prototype that was there. So the only problem with going to those things, you see the latest and best gear. So when I did the handshake with Goff and Hamers, I said, I want the first one. It's going to have road medals written on it. So we did the handshake, we did the deal, and I said, I want the best possible price. I want introductory price. which I'd never heard of before, they told me. But anyway, but I had to wait 2 years before it arrived. So at the time, they're still trying to sell me Fs, and I said, I've seen a G, when's it coming? So we are behind as far as machines go, and actually talk about an EM was quite funny. So that's the disadvantage. You're seeing the gear, but we can't have it straight away. Of course, when I see something, I want it now. I don't want to have to wait a couple of years.
Of course.
When I went to the Con Expo, again, quite a few years ago, there was an M there. So I saw it, I think it was a 980M. No, it might have been a 66M, because 66 is a good size for us, especially with the portables. So I think it was a 66M, and I said, oh, M for Murray. So quite excited about it. So again, I said, I want the first M. So, yeah, the problem was, at the time, they were selling, actually, that was the M model. They were still selling H's.
They were still selling H's.
Still selling H's. So what happened, when the salesman came in and tried to sell me an H, I go, just hang on, I've seen an M. He said, oh, that's going to be a while. I said, well, what about a K, for God's sake? He said, well, they're never going to be introduced into New Zealand. I said, why not? I said, well, why do I want an H? He said, well, the H is so reliable. That was his reasoning. So anyway, I eventually got the M, but I think I had to wait another 2 years for that too.
Yeah, I'm trying to think back how, because I remember we did a video testimonial, and you were on that, and that was the first one in the country.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think how long you had to wait for it though.
Hey, do you know what they did? I didn't realise the first one we got was it a 62M, wasn't it?
I think it was a 62M. Yes.
Yeah. So what they did, they told me, come and have a look at this, Murray. Where it says 962M, well, after the M, they'd written URRAY, Murray, because I'd always said M for Murray. But those shows are good, and but as I say, you're seeing the latest gear. But as I say, I get probably more out of the people who are on the trip, and you make friendships, you form a camaraderie with them. So, and that's actually quite important. I've made a lot of friends on those trips.
And there'd be some characters from the old golf days that looked after you or on those sort of tours. Anyone that you could potentially mention for us?
Oh, look, actually, I'd have to say Goff's always had a good team, ranging back to Terry Locke. Dave Falby was an interesting one. I enjoyed Dave. Terry Locke was interesting in the respect that Terry went out of his way to look after everyone. Absolutely went out of his way. And I said to Terry, we're all grown people. We can probably look after ourselves on something. And I'll give you one example. We were staying at Caesar's Palace in Vegas. Anyway, Terry told us to all be out there at 6 o'clock and the bus would be there. When we got out there, Terry was beside himself. And he said, oh, the bus is broken down. What can I do? What can I do? And he was on the phone trying to organise another bus. I said, Terry, we're all grown people. I think we can look after ourselves. Most of us are running our own businesses. I said, just tell everyone that the function starts at 7 o'clock and to be at the MGM Grand at 7 o'clock. It's pretty simple, Terry. You don't have to complicate it. No, Muzz, no, it's up to me to organise the bus. I go, Terry, just tell the people what's happening. No, leave it to me. So he's still on the phone. I then got up and took it on my own bat. And I've got a very, very loud voice. I just yelled out to everyone, excuse me, everyone. I said, Terry's been let down by the buses. Not his fault. But I said, we're all grown people. I think we can get ourselves to the MGM. I said, I'm going to order a taxi. I mean, there's a taxi stand right there, for God's sake. I said, I'm jumping in the first taxi. And I said, suggest you all do the same. And you meet us at the MGM Grand. Half of us did that, but actually, what I was surprised at, half of them actually stayed behind and decided to let Terry do it for them. So I was a little bit shocked at that. But anyway, Terry was good. The last trip I went on, Timamera from Terracat, I've got to say, he was a very good tour guide. But again, it's a camaraderie that you talk about. You discuss different things that you can't discuss in an office. It's fun with a capital F.
And it personalises those relationships in that as well.
Absolutely.
And Murray, I also understand on that same trip there was actually another incident possibly on the other side of the American border.
There certainly was. On the trip, what happened, Goffs took us to the shooting range in Vegas. So it was quite incredible. I mean, I'm not really a gun expert, but it was a lot of fun. I think there's 40 different types of guns you can use. So there's a shooting range. It was amazing. Actually, there's another story there too. When I came out of the shooting range, there was a guy pulled up on a Harley. He had 2 saddlebags in the back. Anyway, so I'm having a cigarette outside. a bit of a break, and he pulled out this gum, unwrapped it, and I said, "Oh, what are you doing with that?" He said, "Just going to get a bit of practice." I said, "Really?" I said, "Do you have to use that at all?" "Hell yes." I mean, but anyway, getting back to the situation, when I went back inside, I said to them, "I've always been fascinated with the old Wild West." So I said, "Do you sell Colt 45s?" They said, yes, we have. So they showed me a Colt 45. And I looked at it, I said, "Oh, I'd love to get that back with a holster." And they said, "Where are you from?" I said, "New Zealand." They said, "Well, you won't get that in the country, but we've got replicas, identical, but they don't have the firing pin." I said, "I'm never going to fire it." I said, "It's only just going to be a bit of a thing maybe for a fancy dress. I can put a holster on and gun." And so they showed me, it was quite heavy. I mean, the whole gun was, you would have thought it was real. And then I said, "Have you got a holster?" And they found an 1850 holster, which was quite amazing. You see where the bullets have been in it. So I go, "Yep, that'll do." So I bought the holster and the gun. So when I go back to the hotel, we're going to Mexico. I was leaving the Goffs, and we're doing a side trip down to Mexico. So I packed it into my suitcase, the gun and holster. Off we went. When we arrived in Mexico, on the conveyor system, the conveyor's going in my suitcase. It's surprising just going into a country, but anyway, the conveyor was going. And next thing, the bells went, the alarms went, there was people running everywhere. When I walk around to have a look at the screen, you can see the perfect outline of the Colt 45. And they're talking in Mexican, Spanish actually. And I didn't know what they're saying, but I figured they're asking whose suitcase. And I said, "You want to know whose suitcase?" They said, "Yes." I said, "It's mine." And they said, "You got a gun in there, sir?" I go, "Well, yes, but it's not. It's not a real gun. It's a replica." And I think anyway, they said, "Come with us." So I had to go into an interview room. So they took my suitcase and the gun and the holster into the room. And they're busy looking at the gun. Actually, they're quite scared of it. They're holding it out as if to, I said, it's only a replica. What happened then, I think, is difference between saying it's a Ford or a Holden. I don't think they understood what replica meant. So then I said it's a toy gun. And then, because we had a interpreter at this stage, and he goes, "It's not a toy, sir." And I said, "Well, it doesn't work." Anyway, so this is with the airport police. Then they brought the real police in. So then they put me under arrest. And I'm going, whoa. So I started to get a wee bit uncomfortable at this stage, because I started off, I thought it was quite humorous. But the humour actually left me. And then the interpreter said to me, "You are going to jail for a very, very long time." And I thought, Christ, imagine being in a Mexican jail. That wouldn't be much fun. And I didn't really think I'd done much wrong. I mean, I bought the gun in the States, for God's sake. I mean, so to me, it's no big deal. But anyway, it was a big deal. So I was under arrest, and I was a smoker in those days. It was pretty stressful, I've got to say. So after a couple of hours and being interviewed, I was said to them, "I'd like us to have a cigarette." And they go, "No, you can't smoke." I said, "Put me in handcuffs and take me outside, and I just have a cigarette, just calm the nerves." And they said, "No, you can't do that." I said, "Well, I'm under arrest, aren't I?" They said, "Yes, you are, sir." This is through, again, you can understand there's lots of languages going on.
Yes.
So the interpreter says, "Yes, you are under arrest." I said, "Well, look, what else can you do?" So I pulled the cigarette out of a pocket, put it in my mouth, and they were yabbering away in Spanish. And then the interpreter was just about to light it up, and the person said, "They say, sir, they'll take you to jail quicker." So I then lost the urge for nicotine. Anyway, to cut a long story short, they then brought in the army. So I've had the airport police, then I've had the real police, and the room was getting quite full, and then we had 3 army people came in the camo gear, carrying AK-47s. So they came in, but one of them was obviously a gun expert. And again, I can't understand what they're saying. They're talking in Spanish, of course. So anyway, they're pointing to this guy's pointing to the firing pin, and I knew what he was saying. There's no firing pin. So anyway, they then let me go, but it was quite harrowing, I must say. I wasn't looking forward to that Mexican jail.
I wonder if they would have given you that one phone call that you were supposed to get. Lucky that it didn't come to that. So.
You might wonder why I wanted a 6-gunner, because I'm not a shooter. It was just to go into, I just figured it would be go straight to the pool room type thing, just to hang it up. Anyway.
And did it make it back to New Zealand?
No, actually, what happened? When they said I could go, I said, "Well, I don't want the gun put in the rubbish bin." They said, "No, there's 2 conditions, sir." I thought, "Good grief! Yeah, what are the conditions?" One of the conditions is we know where you're staying at the hotel. We will come in and investigate if you must go put it in the hotel safe. We will come while you're staying there, and we will check that it's in the hotel safe. I go, okay. The other thing is, sir, they said we want it out of Mexico. We don't want because it does look real. And they said, you must take it out. I said, I don't want it, though. They said, we don't want it either. I said, just destroy it. They said, it must go out. So anyway, guess what? When I arrived a week later to go out of the country to go back to America, the same performance. But anyway, it did end up in the rubbish bin, so it was good.
Oh, it's a shame it didn't make it back to the pool room
I've still got
Christchurch.
I've still got the holster. I've got the holster. But anyway, it's life's experiences, isn't it?
Oh, most definitely. Hey, just moving back, we talked a bit about some of those older machines that you had a real, I suppose, a love for, those 66Ds, the 80, the 80B, the 88. Moving to your Road Medals Museum, which is at Wards Road, tell us a bit about that.
It's called a showroom, incidentally.
Showroom?
Not allowed to have a museum, but we're restricted by numbers.
Well, tell us about the showroom then.
I just decided that Road Medals was a company, as they again, although it was called North Otago Road Medal, I still say that it was formed in 1955. It's the same company, just with the name change, same ownership, for God's sake. So I wanted to have a museum with some of the older gear which we've got, and actually we have quite a few functions there. Well, I probably shouldn't say that. Oh, it's fine, I suppose. But yeah, a lot of people find out about it, and I'm always quite proud to show people the museum. So yeah, it's been good, and we have a lot of fun. We hold a lot of staff meetings at the museum. It's have you been there?
Yes, yeah, I've been there a couple of times.
Yeah,
we've had some functions there.
Actually, that's right. Actually, Kat,
fantastic. We've used it for Terra over the years. It's great to be able to get people along there.
Yeah, and we've had there's been contractors federations, best operator, been held at our quarry, and then we have the function afterwards at the museum.
Is there something displayed there that you're really proud of?
I'm proud of everything we got there, Richard.
Any one thing in particular when you look at it and think, oh, that was, it might have been a rebuild from absolute scratch or something similar to that?
Funny enough, probably one of the things I really enjoyed and had trouble getting it was an old Q Dodge, because I used to drive those when I was probably 12, 13 years old, so it was actually quite special to me. It's the old, I don't know, it's about 1964, but it's actually quite special, the old Dodge. Funny, I just shipped that the other day. I thought, how could anyone drive one of these? But yeah, that's probably quite special. There's a couple of loaders in there. Actually, the 944's there. I was hoping to bring the 988 back, but I think it's better off in Wanaka. And the other one that I've got is going to, where's it going to? Oh, Twizel. Yeah, so probably happy enough with that. And also the 88's quite big to put in the museum. So, yeah.
You'd have to build an extension to get that in there, wouldn't you? So,
but I've just actually, it is quite interesting. There's a guy, and you need to come and have another look. He's done a mural on the wall, and it looks pretty special.
Now, Murray, there's another top secret Caterpillar machine project that Road Medals was involved with recently at one of your Christchurch quarries. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, it was like winning lotto. How often do you get a company comes to you and said, Murray, would you like a free loader for 12 months? So I've got to say it was, I just couldn't believe my luck really. But what it was, Caterpillar and TerraCat selected our company to trial this loader. So it's a new generation, but it was sort of a prototype. There was only one in the world. So we're very, very lucky to get it. And the deal was we have it for 12 months. The engineers from America will come out every month into our workshop, and they'd take things off it and put things on. And I was quite excited about the whole thing. I say again, the word free, like it's just incredible. But hey, there was a job to be done, and the job was to trial the loader. We had a good operator to put on it. But anyway, COVID struck. which was a slight issue because then the engineers couldn't come out every month. But the idea was to take stuff off the machine, put a different turbocharger on, put a different load cells in it, a whole heap of different things. But anyway, what did happen, there was $50,000 worth of gear on it, which could then talk to America with the computers. So as soon as that machine was started up, the lights come on in America, and they could tell exactly the fuel burn. They knew the temperature of the diffs, the temperature of the transmission. They knew everything about it. So it all worked pretty well, but it was a shame that COVID was there, because I would have liked to have seen the engineers sort of pulling stuff apart and putting stuff on. But that was the deal. So once a month, it would go into the workshop for a day. They would take stuff off it, put new stuff on, and then trial that, and then fly back to America. But anyway, it was all done through computers, so it was all done off-site. But it was a very, very successful test. Actually, so successful, and the loader was so successful, I phoned up TerraCat, and they said, "You're looking for another loader?" I said, "Look, you've probably made a mistake by giving me this new generation. I'm not buying another one until they're on the market," because there wasn't even on the market, it was just. Again, with my car, I drove down to the quarry one time to have a look at this loader, and I said to the operator, I wouldn't mind having a drive of it, operator. So I jumped on it for a quarter of an hour, probably half an hour. Anyway, I said to the operator, God, this is more comfortable than my car. The seat was just, yes. I think there's air blowing out of the seat, and it's very, very comfortable. It's very, very nice to operate. So as soon as I operated the thing, I said, no, I'm not buying any more until this particular model comes out. And again, true to our word, as soon as that model did come out, we bought one.
And that's the new CAT next generation 966 wheel loader, isn't it?
Yeah, I find it quite incredible. I mean, again, we've had, we'll stay with the 66, where there's 980s the same, but anyway, 66, you had a 66A, a 66B, C, D. I mean, again, to take the A, B, C, D. Well, I mean, at the moment we're onto a M for Murray, of course, as I said before. Now there's nothing, so it's just called 966. I don't know how that's going to go with the customer, because how do we know? I mean, again, you can say to me it's a 66F or a 66D. I mean, I know what year it is. How are you going to tell which year it is?
Well, I suppose with these particular loaders, we talk about the next gen 966,
yeah,
but after that, I'm not too sure. So
it can't be the next gen in 20 years' time.
Might be the next generation Series 2, maybe.
Actually, I wondered that. Series 1, Series 2, yeah, I wondered that. But anyway, very, very successful, and I was very, very privileged for our company to be selected by Caterpillar and TerraCat. It was great.
Oh, that's fantastic. And you've got another loader that's on order or has been received just fairly soon, isn't it?
Yep, yeah, 980. So those new gen, extremely good. Nothing wrong with the other model as well, but the new gen is pretty special.
That's great to hear.
So moving forward to 2023, what's some of the biggest challenges you're sort of facing in business right now, and how do you sort of think that Road Metals will overcome them?
Well, staff would be my number one problem, and I'm very, how should I put it? I'm very proud of our staff, and again, our staff have got us to where we are. Some very long-serving staff, as I said, but because we've expanded, we've had to bring in new blood, and that's been the biggest problem, is bringing the new blood in. One thing I have to say, when you've got quality gear, and CAT being one of them, Mac being another one, it's a lot easier to get staff because you're operating some quality product. Jesus, I remember when I first started driving loaders, there was no brakes, no starter motors, nothing. Jesus Christ. And if you're stalled, you got a hell of a smack on the head. You got to get the jumper leads out. But anyway, so we've come a long way since then. And I'm not saying we operated the best back then, but we made do with what we had. I still say that one of the biggest things facing us is resource consents. It's such a long process. We've got a quarry at Rolleston, and it took us 3 years to get consents. It's a long time. And even gravel consents, this was interesting. When the RMA Act first came in, we used to go to the rivers, we'd talk to the engineer off the river and say, right, we need 10,000 metres, 20,000 metres, whatever the case may be. And he said, right, Murray, see that island out there? We need to take that away. You can then take this gravel from here. The river's leading into the bank. It's eroding, so take it out there. Is that enough for you? I said, we might need a bit more. Okay, said the island, another 100 yards down, take that out. So, and that was it. So off we'd go. When the RMA first came in, I can't think what year that was, but anyway, we were doing a job up the Conway. The crushing plant was on the way, and I knew that I had to apply for a consent, so I went into ECAN, and I said to them, I'm here to apply for a consent in the Conway River. We need to take 20,000 metres out. And or to crushing, AP65 and M4. And he said, okay, Murray, here's the forms. Take them away. I said, I need it now, so I'll fill them out while I'm here. So I filled them out, passed them to him. I said, well, when will I get an answer? Can I get it one today? So I know it'll be another week. I said, another week? I said, we'll be finished. We'll be gone. He said, I don't want to hear that, Murray. Could you? Anyway, the guts of it is, when I filled out the thing, we were probably half an hour away from arriving on site. You wouldn't get away with it now. And you don't want to. I mean, things have changed. So that's a real issue, resource consents. I can remember we did a job on the road between Tiano and Milford. A guy, Pop Andrews, it was Ministry of Works. And again, Ministry of Works, they're a great thing. I mean, we did a lot of work with Ministry of Works. Anyway, they hired bottom dumps and a couple of tip trucks. Anyway, I was in charge of the job, but again, reporting to Ministry of Works. They were actually in charge. I'm standing on the side of the road, and we're making good progress. We had a guy in front going through with a chainsaw, just dropping the trees, and we're just going over the top of them with the road. Anyway, when they used to have, in those days, you had an RE, short for resident engineer. So he arrived in his HQ Hold'em, and Pop and I were on the side of the road having a cigarette, discussing the day's events and how good the road was looking, and giving ourselves a pat on the back. Anyway, the RE hopped out of his car and he says, how's it going, Pop? And Pop said, no, we're making good progress. And the RE goes, yes. He said, actually, I'm very, very pleased. He said, the road rides beautifully. He said, and we've taken all those bad corners out. He said, I'm really happy with what we've got. And then he saw these pegs, probably about 50 metres away out in the bush. And he said to Pop, he said, what are those pegs out there? He said, oh, that's the where the surveyor set out the road. He said, that was the centre line. He said, Pop said, but they're bloody stupid, he said, putting it there. He said, why would you put a road out there? He says, there's a couple of corners. He said, we'll just chop straight through here. And the RE goes, oh, no, I can see why you've done it. He said, actually, Pop, he said, we can save a bit of money. He says, well, why? We won't bother sending the surveyors up again. He said, why? He said, you're doing a good job of the way you are. Pop goes, no. He said, keep the surveyors coming. He said, they're a good guideline. It was only a guideline. Yes. But as I say, again, back then it was pretty simple. And life's a lot more difficult now. And we've just had to adapt to it, that's all.
So, Murray, driving through Oamaru the other day, and I see that you've got a nice new facility that's gone in there. Tell us about the new Oamaru facility that you've just built.
Yeah, well, it's certainly a lot bigger than what I expected. But what happened, our previous yard, we've been in there for 60 years, the sea was taking it. And we've probably lost 100 metres in total. And I can remember when I drove down there one day, this is quite a few years ago, in our old yard. Our office used to be out where the sea is now. And when I arrived there and saw our office girl wearing a life jacket, I said, are you a bit worried? And then she said, look at the windows, they're all boarded up with wood. And because when the sea got rough, it would smash the windows.
Yes.
So I really decided it's time to shift to build a new office, so we did. But again, the sea, that would be 30 years ago. Now the sea's beating us, and it's come right in. We've had to dismantle part of our workshop, and it was just time to move. A lot of our gear, I'm pretty fussy with gear, as you've seen, getting rust marks on. And even if I took my car down there and go to leave the next day, there's all the salt water stuff on the windows. So it was time to move. So we've moved, but it's certainly a lot bigger than what I expected. But again, it's there for the next 60 years. My aim for Road Metals, we're celebrating 68 years this year. We'll be celebrating our 70th shortly. 1955 we started. My aim is for Road Metals to reach 100. I probably won't be there to celebrate with them, but I'll leave a message.
You'll give it a good crack, I'm sure.
I'll leave a message for them. But my aim is for it to be 100 years plus.
Yeah, and that facility's that'll certainly go well past that stage, won't it, with what you've done there.
And I've people have joked about it, and they said most towns have welcome to Oamaru, welcome to Christchurch. They said that's sign road metals. They said it's welcome to road metals. So I go, yep, exactly what I wanted to achieve.
So Murray, we originally asked sort of, what was in the name change from North Otago through to road metals today. So there's another sort of piece to that as well. Did you want to just explain?
Yeah, just quickly. When my father died, we had Francis Mine. We had North Otago Road Metal, Francis Mining, Francis Construction. I think we didn't finish on it. So what happened? North Otago Road Metal, and I was working in Christchurch. All of our trucks had North Otago Road Metal written on them. And I remember we were doing a job in the square, and the person came along and said to me, "God, you're a long way from home," because they had North Otago Road Metal Oamaru on the door. And I hadn't really taken much notice because, it's just you take these things for granted. And I said, well, we're not a long way from home at all. We're based in Christchurch. He said, how come it's got Oamaru on the door? Anyway, I didn't want to lose the name North Otago Road Metal because it was a well-known company. So what I did then, I went home and thought about it. So then I formed a company called Canterbury Road Metal, and with no intentions of ever using the name. So there was North Otago Road Metal, which is a well-known company, and Canterbury Road Metal. So then I decided to drop the North Otago off. So what I had, the letterhead had Road Metals incorporating North Otago Road Metal, Canterbury Road Metal. So that's how I got the name. And if you notice, our trucks have got the domicile, Oamaru or Christchurch. You'll notice our utes have got no domicile whatsoever on them for that reason. And again, we've worked up in Auckland, so just got road metals on the door.
Okay. So we're just about, we could probably go on for another hour or so, but we do have to wind it up. I suppose we talked a little bit about nearly 70 years. You've got a goal to reach 100 and go past that. What do you attribute the success of the company? It's been very successful over all of that time. What do you attribute that down to?
Our success is actually our staff. Our staff, all of our staff have really worked away from the ground up. Been on front-end loaders, trucks, and they've moved into management, so they understand it. But the staff, very, very loyal staff, exceptionally loyal. I'm a very loyal person. I'm loyal to the staff, but I expect loyalty back. So it's a two-way street. But I couldn't have wished for a better team. When we did the first company profile, we had a picture of the management there, and I think there were 6 faces there. Someone said, "Murray, great profile, but you shouldn't have put the faces there because faces change." I said, "Not in our company." And guess what? 25 years afterwards, actually, was it 30 years afterwards, we've got the same people. We've extended the crew, but the original management team are still there. And actually, that management team, I worked with them at Twizel.
I think that's probably a fantastic way to finish up. Murray, it's been fantastic having you on Breaking Ground. Thanks for coming and chatting to us today. As I said before, I think we could probably spend 2 hours doing this.
Oh, they tell me I'm a chatterbox.
And we did know that. So, it's been a privilege, and thanks very much for your time. And thanks so much to all our listeners. We hope you've enjoyed today's conversation with Murray.
And as always, we'd love to hear your feedback. To get in touch, you can send us a message on TerraCat social media channels, and please keep an eye on our TerraCat Facebook page for details about next month's episode. Thank you very much, Murray.
Thank you.